Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas. My name is Tammy, and I talk about the issue of hoarding. And a couple days ago, it occurred to me that adult kid of parents that hoard, that I know a little more about the whole idea of no room in the inn than I thought I did. And that was a little surprising to me that I had never made that correlation before. I realized that as an adult, I have never spent a holiday in my parents' home. And that's a little disconcerting when I think about how much I love Christmas in particular. I love the tree and the ambiance and the lights and just the warmth and the humanity that seems to show this time of year. I also recognize that I have lived vicariously through many Christmas movies and always wondered what it would be like to go home and stay in your old room or see pictures of you when you were a baby on the wall. And I realize I've never experienced that. And I also realized that it made me understand a little more about why I think the Christmas story has resonated with me all these years. And that is the idea that you go seeking something and you get there and there's no room. And giving birth to a baby in a stable has got to be rather extreme. I also understand how sad it is to want to go home and know there is no room, or you go home not anticipating the mess that you may encounter in a hoarding situation. And it's probably about a year, but I remember going back to the place where I grew up, and at the time I lived, I had my own room that I kept clean. And I remember climbing the little ladder up to that room, really being jolted into reality that there was really no room in my room. And it was very difficult, heart-wrenching to realize that essentially I had been pushed out. And I believe in hoarding behavior, it's more a compulsion and addiction. It isn't necessarily a desire to make people miserable. It's just the way that person's pain manifests. And when I'm thinking about the story now and how it must have felt to be a family somewhere and being told there's no room, but you can have a barn, when I go home now, that's kind of how I feel. There is no room in the inn for me to stay. And even if there was, I would not choose to because of all the things that are in that house and the smell and memories. There's no room. Seriously, no room in the inn. So my solution is I have a camper, which essentially could be a barn, except I have heat and I don't have donkeys breathing on me and things like that. But it is like camping, and camping is not fun in December or when it rains. And so I often make the choice to not go because I don't want to deal with it. And with 15 million people in the USA that have a hoarding problem, if you estimate that half of those people have a kid or a grandkid or a sibling or a spouse that can't go home, that's a lot of million people, okay? And therefore, I know that I am not the only one that chooses not to go home, either because of too much crap or too much chaos, or too much trauma, and too much memories. And so if you happen to know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry, but I also want you to know you're not alone. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then there's room to learn. And I want people to know that you don't have to face this crap alone, and that there's people that understand and are not going to judge you. And that's been my fear for many years, of bringing it up. And what I've realized is it's not my mess. I didn't create it, but I am kind of stuck with it in some ways. And I'm going to say hi because I see a number of people jumping on here. Karen Hamilton. I ordered some Beyond Nuts, and I just got those in the mail. Perfect timing for presents. Maddie Dunbar, I've known her for several years, and her kindness, especially around the holidays. And I see Mark Dudek here, CSD Hardscapes. He creates spaces for people to connect, and that's amazing to me. And Daniel Curry, he's Indies IT, answers my IT questions without making me feel dumb. And Vivian Rogers Decker has done amazing things in Oak Harbor for our homeless situation, and I appreciate all that effort. And I see Paul Hudson here, who is recently graduating from college, and that is quite a feat when you're balancing life and family. And so I appreciate that. And Mark has been so supportive of my efforts to show up, to consider a podcast, just very much a connector of people. And I wish him the best, and I can't wait to see what comes about as you move to the Tampa area. It's amazing. Anyway, if you have any kind of concern when it comes to your family members or even yourself, if you're the hoarding issue, I can relate. And if there's no room in the inn, I can also relate to that. And I am working on creating a space in home where I can actually welcome people, because another aspect of growing up in a hoarded home is something we call doorbell dread. And no matter how clean your house is, no matter how much shit you have put away and not visible, you still have that knee-jerk reaction that someone's going to judge you. Someone's going to say something negative about your house, your space, and that is anxiety producing to no end. And I am learning to step out on the porch if I'm uncomfortable. I am learning to get to a space where I can welcome people in. That's very challenging, and that it's very hard to understand what it's like to not want someone to come in, and you want someone to come in, but then you're afraid of what they'll say. So you're in this constant conundrum of how on earth you possibly welcome people in when you're so afraid of what their environment might be. And the truth is if people like you, about you, they don't really care what your house looks like. If it's at a space where they could come in and sit down and have coffee. If it's very hoarded and whatever, yes, that would be a concern. Anyway, I totally understand this idea of no room and it wasn't honestly until this season that I made that connection that there are so many people who know what this is like, even though it's very cool and we don't talk about it. I aim to change that. And I don't mean you have to announce your whole story to the whole world, but I think you take pieces of it and help other people move through things. And I see Annette is here as well. She has a wild ride called Life, a blog, and she does speaking around her experiences, and very happy to be connected with her. I am not sure what else to say. I think I've run out of what I was thinking about, but in any case, know that you're not alone. And I really wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and that you enjoy the moments and be present with your people. And as Mark and I talked about, put down your phone. People are right here, and we need that connection. And here we are. All right. You all have a good day.